When you look around at pretty much everything you own, there's a good chance it spent some time on a giant ship crossing an ocean. Somewhere between 80 and 90% of all world trade moves by sea. It's this massive, invisible engine that powers our modern world. But that engine has a deeply human and, frankly, hidden crisis at its very core. Okay, let's get into it. So get this. Every single month, 100,000 seafarers need to be rotated on and off their ships. That's 100,000 people who need to get from their homes, wherever they are in the world, to a vessel that might be in some remote port and then all the way back again. They call this the crew change, and it is a colossal, high-stakes logistical puzzle. It's literally the constant heartbeat that keeps global trade alive. But what happens when that heartbeat starts to get irregular? Well, that's exactly what's happening right now. The fragile, decades-old system that's supposed to manage this critical operation, it's at its breaking point. And this is creating a perfect storm of operational, geopolitical, and business crises. So, to really understand the solution here, we first have to get our heads around the sheer scale of the problem. We're talking about a system that has been running on what you could only call manual chaos for far, far too long. I mean, just think about the disconnect. This is a $12 billion a year operation we're talking about. And for decades, it's been managed by this crazy, chaotic mix of spreadsheets, endless email chains, and even WhatsApp messages. For a long time, the whole thing just seemed too messy to digitize, so the industry just stuck with what they knew. Until, of course, it stopped working. It's dangerously inefficient, it's riddled with errors, and it leads to these missed crew changes, which have huge domino effects all the way down the supply chain. And if that operational fragility wasn't bad enough, a series of global crises slammed into the industry, one right after the other, completely shattering any sense of predictability. First, the pandemic trapped 400,000 seafarers on their ships, literally unable to go home. Then, the war in Ukraine completely disrupted a huge source of the world's ship officers. And right now, the Red Sea crisis is forcing ships onto much longer routes, adding weeks to their voyages and throwing schedules into absolute chaos. Stable, predictable planning, that's a thing of the past. On top of all that, there are two new, non-negotiable pressures coming straight from the top. First, the compliance hammer. New EU regulations are now in effect, and they legally require companies to audit and report carbon emissions from their entire supply chain, and that explicitly includes all that crew travel. Second, there's a massive war for talent. The industry is facing a shortage of 90,000 officers by 2026. This means companies simply cannot afford to burn out their crews with cheap, high-stress travel anymore. So here's the key takeaway. The problem has become too complex, too volatile, and the stakes have gotten too high for manual human planning alone. This is precisely where an intelligence system, an AI crew, if you will, is designed to step in. The solution is really built in two layers. The easiest way to think about it is like a car. You have the chassis and the brain. The chassis is the workflow platform, the solid foundation that finally gets rid of the chaos of emails and spreadsheets and puts it all on one reliable dashboard. And the brain? Well, that's the AI engine working behind the scenes, figuring out the optimal decisions. And that brain isn't just one single AI. It's what's called a multi-agent system. That's really just a way of saying it's a team of specialized AI agents. Each one has a very specific job, and they all work together to find the best possible answer to this incredibly complex puzzle. So, let's meet the team. First up, you've got the carbon accountant. This agent's only job is to calculate the precise carbon footprint of every single flight, hotel, and car ride for every possible travel plan. It gives planners a level of emissions visibility they've just never had before. Next up is the master scheduler. This is the logistics guru. It's constantly watching real-time data, where ships are, if ports are congested, any geopolitical alerts to find the most efficient and reliable route. And it can instantly adapt the second something goes wrong. And this, for me, is the real game changer, the welfare guardian. This agent is all about the human element. It analyzes every single potential trip against something called an itinerary stress index, flagging plans that have super tight connections, really long layovers, or other things that just cause exhaustion. It makes sure the plan is safe, it's compliant, and it won't burn out the crew. So what happens when you get this AI dream team working together? The result is a system that can finally do what humans have been struggling with for so long: balance the conflicting demands of the planet, the company's profit, and its people. The system presents the human planner with three clear options. Option A is the cheapest, sure, but it pumps out huge emissions, and the itinerary is so stressful that it actually violates international labor laws, the Maritime Labour Convention. Option B is the greenest, but it still puts the crew at high risk for fatigue. But then there's option C, the AI's recommendation. This is the sweet spot. It's cost-effective, it has low emissions, and crucially, it has a low stress score, making it both legal and sustainable for the crew. Let's just focus on the environmental impact for a second, because this is huge. The old way, just booking the cheapest flight, might generate 4.5 tons of CO2. The AI-optimized balanced approach cuts that almost in half, down to 2.4 tons. Now imagine that reduction scaled across thousands and thousands of crew changes every year. It's a massive difference. At the end of the day, for the actual crew manager on the ground, the benefit is pretty simple. It takes a high-stress, chaotic, manual process and replaces it with a single, reliable platform that gives them the confidence to make the best possible decision every single time.
So what does all this mean for the future? Well, this isn't just about a smarter spreadsheet. It's about creating a triple win for the entire industry.
A win for the planet, a win for the business, and most importantly, a win for the people who make global trade possible in the first place. Here's the bottom line. For the planet, you're looking at a 20 to 40% reduction in emissions just from crew logistics. For the business, it delivers up to 24% in cost savings and automatically generates those mandatory audit-ready carbon reports they desperately need. And for people, it ensures their rights are protected and reduces travel fatigue. It creates this amazing virtuous cycle. Saving money and cutting emissions becomes directly linked to taking better care of your crew, which in turn helps solve that massive talent crisis. And this brings us right back to where we started. We've seen how a team of AI agents can untangle this incredibly complex, hidden world of human logistics and shipping. It leaves us with a fascinating question. If AI can fix this invisible engine that powers our global economy, what other hidden, complex systems is it ready to fix next?